just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
We're back for more scouting reports here on the Believe in NFL Draft Prospects podcast. Joe DeLeone, Ryan Roberts. Today, tight ends. We're talking Michael Mayer. We're talking Dalton Kincaid. Before we get into that, though, folks, I just want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is BetOnline. BetOnline has all the latest odds, news, updates that you're looking for in the sports betting world. You can bet on any game, basketball, hockey, football, whatever it is, you can bet on at betonline.ag. I know that we've got bowl season coming up, and if you're like me, you want to make those bowl games a little more entertaining while you're sitting on your couch, you're not at work, throw a couple bucks down, $5-10. Don't need to sell out the mortgage there. Instead, have a little fun, enjoy the games like I'm going to be doing. Head on over to betonline.ag and use promo code BELIEVE and get a welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Ryan. Today we've got Michael Mayer. We've got Dalton Kincaid. Yes. Two very talented tight end prospects. I want to start things off with Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer is being lauded as one of the top tight end prospects that we've seen in a very long time. Very talented player. Very unique player. But the one thing that I'm slowly starting to notice is a lot of volatility in how everybody views Michael Mayer. There is not a lot of consistency. And I'm not saying that some people see him as like a day 3 and some people see him as a first rounder, but there is a camp that has him as a top 7 pick. And there's a camp that has him as a back end of the first round, 20 to 32 pick. I think I have a sense of where we both stand on this. I think you're higher on him than I am, but your thoughts on Michael Mayer and his current draft projection?
I think he's a top 10 player in this class, Joe. I do, man. I mean, there's going to be a conversation about evaluation versus valuation, right? Because he is a throwback style. There's no doubt about that, right? Like he's not Kyle Pitts type of tight end. And that we've seen that the NFL is now kind of valuing that kind of move flex piece a little bit more. Michael Mayer is a true inline attached Y that he's going to play at the next level. He can block. He got a lot better blocking down the stretch of the season. I thought he made dramatic improvements in that department. He's physical. He's pretty flexible for his size as well. Like he's straight line athlete. No, he's not going to be Kyle Pitts. He's not. He's probably going to be closer to like 4.65 to 4.7-ish, somewhere in that ballpark, which is fine for his size.
I feel like he's a little slower than that. I feel like he's going to be like more of like a 4 set because we were duped by Kyle Hamilton last year, and I don't want to do that again. I know that they're two completely different positions, but I feel like he's going to be like a 4.75 guy. Just watching him run, he doesn't always go full speed. I will say that much. So it's hard to get like a full gauge because he's really good at adjusting the tempo on his routes. So it's hard to like really know. And he's not breaking away from anyone to say like, wow, watch him separate. It's like, oh, he makes a catch. He gets tackled or he kind of like shoves his way forward for a few extra yards and fights for those extra yards because he's so freaking massive. But he's 265.
Here's the question though. Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Does it matter if he runs a 4.75?
No, because he's 265 pounds. If this was Dalton Kincaid, who we're going to talk about in a second, if he was only 240, then I'd be like, that's terrible. That's horrible. But we're talking about here about a guy who is 265 pounds, is a hulking mass, is a presence in everything that he does on the field as a route runner, as a ball carrier, as a blocker, like you're talking about. Like the size is what's his advantage. His strength is his advantage, not the speed.
Yep. Well, no, and so that's why he separates in two different ways, right? Because I agree, he's not even though he had a couple of plays this year where he's able to uncover deep, but for the most part, he's a route runner, and I think that's the first thing that pops off to me is that he is surprisingly flexible as an athlete for as big as he is. He can get out of breaks very well, create some instant separation, and Joe, at the catch point, it's just a mismatch, man. Like him going up for the football, he's got strong hands, he's big, he's massive, he's physical through contact. Like he can just finish through traffic at such a high mark. So he is a clear separator in two different ways. Is he a foot speed, going to run right by every player type of dude? No, he's not. But again, he separates two different ways. He's big, physical. He's been super productive. I just think that some people are missing the boat on him a little bit, man. Because is he the flashiest wide receiver of all time? No, he's not. But does it really actually matter? Because the one thing about him this year on film was everybody and their mother knew 87 was getting the football. Every big play in the passing game, every third down, you knew it was 87 all the time. Last year, you had a Kevin Austin, who was like an 800-plus yard receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Like there were a couple options on last year's team where you're like, yes, it's probably going to Mayer, but there's still a couple other options in the passing game. This year, the wide receivers and the passing game just in general did not develop because of some injuries and some other inconsistencies. But you knew it was Michael Mayer, and despite that, still able to deliver consistently. So he's a different style than what Kyle Pitts was. He's a different style than what Brock Bowers is going to be next year. Regardless, though, he's a dominant football player. For how he wins, he dominates. And whether it's 4.65 or 4.75, really don't care. Really don't care. And I have a hot take for you, Joe. I don't know if you want it now or after we talk about Dalton Kincaid. But
no. Give it to me now. Give it to me now.
I bet you, because he's going to lose some weight to run, right? So it's he'll be. Like I think
he needs to. I think he needs to get down to 255. And I think me having been through that process, like having any strength coach is going to come in and say, like, you're too damn heavy. Like, it's great that you're big and you're strong, but you don't need those extra 10 pounds.
He's got such good weight on him, though, man. Dude looks like Captain America. It's wild. Yeah. But here's my hot take, though, Joe. I bet you he runs a faster 40 than Dalton Kincaid.
I don't agree with that.
All right, that's fine.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Why? I gotta. Why do you think that? I'm like actually like a little stunned here because like there was like a huge, to me when I watched the film, not a huge, but there was a noticeable difference between both.
I think Dalton Kincaid is smoother than Michael Mayer because he's a different body type. I do not think he's explosive though. I don't think Kincaid's explosive. I think that Kincaid is incredibly lengthy. I mean, we'll talk about him, right? But he's got incredible length. He's got the body type. He's over 6'6". He has the long strides as well. But I don't consider him fast. I don't think he's incredibly fast. I didn't see him get on top of dudes a ton. I didn't. I actually saw him. I actually think Michael Mayer got on top of dudes more than Dalton Kincaid did. I really do believe that.
I understand. I understand the perspective you're coming from. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on Dalton Kincaid, but to circle back to Mayer, I do want to address what you were talking about, how it does feel like some people are missing the boat on Mayer because of his play style. And I think where a lot of people seemingly are getting caught up with him right now is that he doesn't create a lot of separation because he's not that fast. Like he's not a super speedy. This is not Kyle Pitts, who would run in the 4.4s, possibly lower, freaky, speedy athlete. That is not him. He wins, and his separation is his strength. Like, it is his ability to box guys out, to, no matter the situation, to make firm catches despite being highly pressured. Like, that is what is his version of separation. He doesn't need a couple yards. He just needs a little bit of room, and he's making a play. And I even, tweeted out a clip of him against USC. Drew Pine made one of the stupidest throws I've ever seen, throwing into quadruple coverage. But Michael Mayer,
give Pine some credit though, Joe. It was a bad decision, but he fit it in there, man. He did fit it in there.
I will never, until the day I die, give Drew Pine an ounce of credit for anything.
It was a good ball.
It was a good ball. It was a stupid decision and a good ball.
And it was a good ball, though. It was a good ball. Yeah.
If that wasn't Michael Mayer, that was an interception. That's the difference there. But my point is that he on that play made this really contested catch, and that's just, his film is littered with that. He does that on a week-to-week basis, and I don't know why any team wouldn't invest in a guy like that. No, he is not going to take the top off of a defense like a Kyle Pitts. Instead, he is going to be in a goal line to go situation, or you need a first down. You throw him the football, he's going to make a play, and he's going to come down with the ball.
I do still think, though, although he's not going to run by anybody, I think he can hurt you up the seam, though, because of the body type that he has, right? Like him matching up against a linebacker or a safety, you kind of throw the ball a little bit on the back shoulder and you let him kind of elevate. He can still create some chunk plays. It's just, to your point, it's not going to be him running by guys, right? Like that's not going to be the way he wins. You know who he is to me, Joe? I made this comp the other day, and I like it. He's Jason Witten to me. That's who he reminds me of. If you remember Witten, man, because Witten
really
was
good
a decent.
hands.
Witten had great hands, was a really good blocker, physical. People remember though, when Jason Witten came out of college, he ran like 4.67, so he was a pretty good athlete, for his size. But the things that made
though.
a little lighter, yeah, he was like 250, 255, somewhere in that ballpark compared to Michael Mayer. But the things that made Jason Witten so good was he was super dependable in the run game, really good blocker, but just incredible hands, strong through traffic, consistent. And he did some stuff after the catch like Michael Mayer could also do because he's just so strong, right? Like he'll break some tackles. So Jason Witten for me, I'll put it like this. Kyle Pitts has 1,000 yards on 60-something catches, right? Like that's how he creates his yards. Michael Mayer to get 1,000 yards is going to need 85 to 90 catches, right? It's going to look different, but it doesn't make it less valuable. It just makes it different, right? And that's my biggest thing is that he's still a very successful football player, still a dominant football player. It's just maybe not the prototype that people are kind of gawking at this point.
I think also many people would argue, and I would actually be one of those people to make this argument, Michael Mayer fits Atlanta's scheme significantly better than Kyle Pitts does because I can't watch Kyle Pitts try to block in line anymore, man. Like he can't.
They don't know how to use him, man. They don't know how to use him.
He can't block at all. He really cannot block, and it's so frustrating to watch. But like Michael Mayer, like that's the value that you get is an aggressive blocker. I do want to address this before we kind of like just finalize his grade here. He is a very aggressive blocker. And I think out of very rarely do we see tight ends in the college game, one utilized and asked to do the things that he does, because a lot of times, a lot of these teams run spread concepts. Guys are split out very often. He's got a very willing and excited intent because he's so aggressive as a blocker. But I still think he needs to clean some stuff up. Like I watched the USC game. He has this horrible tendency, and it's just so frustrating. Like, knowing that he's stronger than all these guys and then wrapping them and grabbing the back of their jerseys and not getting called, which is he should be getting called for some of those. But if he was inside the chest plate and driving like an offensive lineman, which it's refinement, you can fix that. You can't fix the intent. You can fix the technique, but like he really needs to focus on his hand placement and driving a little bit more, because right now he's just kind of grabbing dudes and throwing them around.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely see that. I will say this, though, from where he was to begin the year, because to begin the year, Michael Mayer was actually not a very good blocker. He wasn't. Yeah. He got better during the course of the season. And when you look at the tools that he has, right, the strength, the body type, the frame, the efforts, he has all those things that he could be a very good blocker at the next level. But, I mean, you're correct, Joe. It's not a finished product. It's not like day one, Michael Mayer is a dominant blocker in the NFL and you never have to worry about him again, right? Like he needs refinement. He does. Yeah. But when you couple all the traits he has, you kind of just say, yeah, he'll be a good blocker at the next level. When you thought about that with Kyle Pitts, you're like thin frame, doesn't have the power profile. He's probably not going to be a good blocker, but how Michael Mayer projects, I think he'll definitely be a very, at least serviceable, but good blocker at the next level.
Just to wrap Mayer, my grade that I'm giving him a top 15 pick is where I see him. And that's not a knock on him. I think I'm just a little bit more in the middle on tight ends. Don't always really go that high, even if we're really high on them and their value for various offenses. I think it just purely depends on who's going to value him as a player. But in general, the reason why I'm not willing to go higher than like a top 15 pick is some of that refinement that needs to be done on his technique. And, again, I'm a tiny bit hung up on some of the separation issues, but the catching, the possession catches that he makes, dominating those situations makes him a surefire top 15 pick in my eyes.
You're a hater, man. You're a hater.
What? Why am I a hater?
I don't know. I'm just kidding. I think we see it pretty similarly, man. Like I say, he's a top 10 player in the class. You think he's going to be a top 15 pick. Like we see it very similarly. I think that I just think he's a little better athlete than you do. Just slightly better athlete.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's definitely the case.